Can you start recording?
I think she said she's going to do live stream, Preeti.
Yeah, it just showed up as live.
Oh, it is live already?
I should not do the live?
You can start record, Mataji.
Yeah. I will start. Once I'll share the link, then I'll start it.
Sure. Whenever you're ready, just let me know for introduction. Okay?
Yeah, sure, Mataji.
They have already.
Yeah, Mataji, I'm starting recording.
Hare Krishna. Thank everyone for joining us today. So we are continuing our series on Isopanishad. And we are very happy.
Mataji, I'm not able to hear clearly. Is everybody else able to hear? Is it my problem?
No, it's my problem, Mataji. That's it. We are very, very fortunate to have Sukha Sagari Mataji with us, who will be walking us through the next verse of Sri Isopanishad. So thank you so much, Mataji. Mataji, you can please take over the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so can you all see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes,
Mataji.
Okay, yeah, because something, I think my screen froze or something. So Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome to this session of Sri Isopanishad. We will be discussing the 5th chapter today. And let's just, proceed with that. And we will start with the Mangalacharya prayers. And thank you, Preeti, for the kind introduction. And I pray to all the devotees on the call. I feel a little, or actually very unprepared today. So with all your blessings, I hope I'm able to speak some words, which is that glorify the Lord. So I take all your blessings. And does anybody want to recite these shlokas, or I could go ahead too?
Shall I recite, Mataji?
Yes, please, Prabhuji.
Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Menam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Shall I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, please continue.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prithaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarini. For my respectful obeisance unto His Divine Grace, His Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly teaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and violence. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare. For my respectful obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Pandita Srivas Thakur, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And we'll just start with an overview of the Isopanishad, and this is a slide, this picture. I got it from Her Grace Urmila Mataji's Isopanishad study guide, because it very nicely, it's like a binocular view, how to look, how to gain spiritual knowledge and how do we practice it also. So this shows like the first, verse is about the establishing who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Om Purnamada Purnamidam. So it establishes the complete nature or the absolute nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam, like it also, the second verse we saw was about how the Lord is the proprietor of everything and everything belongs to the Lord. And we should be just using whatever is our allotted quota. And the third verse, the second verse said that if you proceed in this way, like, you understand that the Lord is the proprietor and he's in control of things, then you can live to about how many years? Jiji Vishe Chatam Satam. So how many years did it say that we could live for?
100.
Yeah, Satam, 100, right? Like Shatam. So we can live for hundreds of years like that if we continue to understand the supreme position of the Lord and his proprietorship, and we don't misuse his resources and just use it in his service. Then the third verse, actually, it spoke about, the person who does not follow this policy of recognizing the Lord as the proprietor. Then what was he termed as? Atmahana, right? Like the killer of the soul. So it was talking about such a person who goes to the hellish planets, right? So it talked about how we should be following this principle. We should, take that principle into account, that the Lord is the supreme and the proprietor. And if we do not do that, then we would be going to hellish planets. So that was like practices for living entities, right? And then this mantra for last class, and then today's class, we will be getting some more knowledge of the Supreme, just like how in the Bhagavad Gita we see, right? It starts around the 9th chapter, actually, the knowledge of the Supreme Person, and it goes on, up to the 11th chapter, and then the 12th chapter discusses Bhakti Yoga, right? So similarly here to 4 and 5 verses, they describe the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. So we saw, last time, Aneja Dekam Manasoja Viyo, like, though the Lord is at one place, he's situated at one place, but what does he do? He travels at the, Manaso is what? Manasa is?
Mind.
Mind, yeah. So he travels at the more greater than the speed of mind, actually. That's what the verse says. So even though he's, situated there, he can travel so fast, right? So these are a lot of inconceivable potencies of the Lord are discussed in mantras 4 and 5. Today also we'll see more, inconceivable potencies of the Lord. And then mantra 6 and 6 to 8, they actually give, some knowledge and practice of the spiritual vision. This will all be covered in the future. And then the mantras 9 to 11, they give, some idea of what knowledge is, versus what nescience is. Nescience means like darkness or ignorance, and what knowledge is, like similar, like very similar to how Bhagavad Gita, we also learn about the three modes of material nature and the divine and demonic qualities like that, right? So here also we learn, in fact, one verse of the Isopanishad says that we should learn these two things in parallel. I think it's the 11th verse, if I'm not mistaken. And then 12 to 14, it shows how a person who practices this knowledge, what are the guidelines for practicing, what happens to a person who practices this knowledge and things like that. And then 15 to 18 is, kind of the concluding verses, where the 15 and 16 is, the 15 was basically, we are praying to the Lord, Hiranmayena Patrena. So we're asking the Lord to remove his effulgence. He has the golden effulgence, right? The Lord is so effulgent, so we cannot see the Lord with his effulgence. So it's a humble request, a humble prayer to the Lord that please remove this effulgence so we can see or get your darshan. So the 15, 16, 17, 18 is like humble prayer to the Lord that please give us your vision and accept my services, whatever little we are trying to do. So this is in a nutshell what Isopanishad is trying to educate us on. If we compare the similarities, we even saw that the Nectar of Instruction, Upadesha Amrita, also kind of, borders on these same concepts, right? Like how it went all the way from, starting with cultivating all the habits which are required, like niyama and all those things, and going all the way until prema. So this also is very similar to that, like it, kind of parallel somewhere on the lines of Bhagavad Gita. And usually, generally speaking, the first verse of any scripture is like it establishes the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like we have the Janmadhyasya verse also, right, which establishes the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So generally the first verses they establish the supreme position of the Lord. So that way it goes, and I hope that gave some idea of what we can expect, and trying to get a big bird's eye view of this whole Isopanishad. Now we'll move on to the next slide. And in the last class, like I said, the 4th and 5th chapters deal with trying to know the Lord, or trying to know the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. So Radhika Mataji had discussed, like she had given several examples to understand this topic as to who can know the Lord, who cannot know him, and how can we know him. So anybody wants to perhaps try to say, why do you think we cannot know the Lord? What we learned in the last chapter, I mean, why do you think we cannot know the Lord, and how do you think we can know the Lord? Anybody would like to answer? Who does, in the previous chapter, who is the person who cannot understand the Lord? What does Prabhupada say in the purport? The Maya. I'm giving you a clue.
Maya Paratangyan.
Yeah, the Mayavad, yeah, the impulseless, right? Impulseless, they cannot understand the Lord, right? Because they're trying to understand the Lord by what? Speculation and their own logic and reasoning. But can we understand the Lord like that? No, right? We cannot understand the Lord by our own speculation, our own efforts like that. So how can we actually understand the Lord? We can understand the Lord by actually serving the devotees and begging for his mercy. So we can only understand the Lord when the Lord showers his special mercy on us. Only then we can understand. Until then we can keep reading. But then still, it's not really possible to understand the Lord. So that's what we learned in the previous chapter, that for mental speculators or Mayavad, it's very difficult, right, to understand the Lord, because they think that with their own logic and reasoning, they can understand the Lord. but that's not actually possible. That's what we saw in the previous chapter. And we'll just move on to today's verse. Before that, let me just try to connect the fourth and fifth verses. So this is what I was saying. Through mental speculation, even the greatest philosopher cannot know the Supreme Lord, who is the absolute personality of Godhead. He can only be known by his devotees through his mercy. We also saw, right, in Kunti Maharani's prayer, what does she say? She says, Alakshyam Sarva Bhutanam, right? She says that you're not, visible to the ordinary people, right? You need special divine eyes. Even when Lord Krishna, he showed his Virat Rupa to Arjuna, how was Arjuna actually able to see it? Was he able to see it just by himself, or what facilitated him to see the divine form of the Lord? Anybody? Yeah, he was given Divya Chakshuhu, right? He was given the divine eyes. Only then he could see that form, the universal form of the Lord. Otherwise, he was not able to see that form. So the Lord has to give that kind of a potency, that kind of divine vision to us. Only then we can actually see the Lord. So also there are several, verses which actually, just give me a second, speak on this topic. I'm trying to bring up my notes. I had made a note of some verses, I thought it's good to understand. With those verses. Let me see. Okay. Yeah. So in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says in the 7th chapter, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavritaha. So he says Yoga Maya Samavrita, Naham Prakasham Sarvasya. So he says, I'm not visible to everybody, because I'm covered by his Yoga Maya, he says, Yoga Maya Samavritaha. And similarly, there's another verse, like I was talking about Kunti Maharani's prayers, in which she also speaks of Maya Javanika Channam, right? So she says, she pleads to the Lord, Maya Javanika Channam is what? The curtain, of Maya. Please remove that curtain of Maya so that we can take, your darshan like that. There's so many nice verses. Also in the Bhagavad Gita, there's another verse which says, Name Vidusura Ganaha Prabhavam na Maharshayaha. Ahamadir hi Devanam Maharshi Nam cha Sarvashaha. So this is another verse also from Bhagavad Gita, which says that Name Vidu Suraganaha, even the demigods, or the saintly people or the exalted people, they still cannot know the Lord in his full glory and his full potencies, because there's another reason also to it, right? If we know everything about God, then there's no meaning to God, right? Then we will become more knowledgeable than God. So even if we try to use our logic and reasoning and try to understand, there's always, he's Ananta. Lord is Ananta. He's ever expanding, and his leelas are Ananta, unlimited potency, unlimited leelas. Everything is unlimited about the Lord. Like we saw in the previous chapter 2, which discussed the 3 different energies of the Lord, right? And they're always expanding, the energies of the Lord. So we see that it's not easy for us to actually understand the supreme position of the Lord. And yeah, so infinite really reveals to the infinitesimal. So unless the Lord, the infinite, and we are the infinitesimal, right? So unless he, by his causeless mercy tries to reveal himself to us, can we understand the Lord's supreme position? We cannot understand. We cannot, understand the Lord by any external source. Like, we cannot say, okay, let me just sit and study, for the next 2 years. I mean, of course, with a sense of humility and surrender to the Lord, if we study, he will reveal the truth in us. But if we think that, okay, I can study, I'm a big scholar, we will not understand the Lord and his actual, sweetness and his actual greatness, right? Because the pride will cover us, and we will be thinking about how we understand rather than trying to understand the Lord in his glory. So that will cover us. So what are the reasons why, it's not so easy to understand the Lord? So one reason, we'll move on, to the next slide. So one reason the scriptures say, or this chapter says, like the 4th and the 5th chapter emphasize are on because of the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. So, it's very difficult for everybody to understand, right? For example, when in the previous verse, we learned that he is situated in one place, but still he travels faster than the mind. So it's kind of conflicting, and to the, to our limited senses and limited intelligence, we many times are not able to understand, and no wonder they are called inconceivable potencies of the Lord. But then with the help of, our guru and acharyas who have seen and understood, who are self-realized, we can try to at least, try to understand what they mean by some of these inconceivable potencies, because they have explained it nicely with the help of examples, with the help of pastimes. These scriptures, they kind of open a window for us to understand these inconceivable potencies of the Lord, right? And we will be seeing several pastimes today. So this is like one of the key verses that came to my mind when I was thinking about how, we can try to understand the Lord. So firstly, we need to, to understand the Lord, we need to read or engage in Shravanam, Kirtanam, and what happens, if we don't have the taste for even Shravanam or Kirtan. What if I don't even want to read the scriptures? There are people, right, who do not believe so much in scriptures, or who, may not even want to read scriptures, things like that. So there is one answer to this given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is this verse, which I have, put on the slide here. Shushrusho Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchihi Syan Mahat Sevaya Viprah Punyatirtha Nishevanat. So this verse says, O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So what happens is, when we meet these great souls like this, our acharyas, our gurus, and who are always immersed in the service of the Lord, we get this desire at least to hear, and learn about the Lord. Vasudeva Katharuchi. So these sincere Shraddadhanasya are these great devotees, who are always immersed in this Vasudeva Katharuchi. So when we serve these devotees, what happens is we will get the taste. This is what this verse says. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. And once you keep serving, what happens are, the Shravanam increases, and the understanding, Sparanam increases, and then the Lord can reveal, right? If we don't even have the taste, to listen or to understand the Lord, how can the Lord reveal to us, right? So how will we get this taste in the first place? It's by Shushrusho Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipraha. So by service to these great personalities, we will get that spark, of how to listen to Krishna Katha. I mean, we all have this experience, right? Before listening to Srila Prabhupada or coming to Krishna consciousness, I confess, I didn't have any taste to understand the scriptures. We used to, coming from India, there were shlokas always running in the background in the house and things like that, but never ever, like, what's happening, who am I? Those questions actually, diving into the spiritual truth, it never happened. And I was just wondering, anyone of you also have that kind of an experience before actually listening to Srila Prabhupada or, our ISKCON devotees? That did you have? It was like some bulb, like went on in your head, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know such a thing existed. So do you have that kind of an experience?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, this is Dr. Vandana from India only. And I have been, since I was in a convent for 15 years, I never believed in all these things. In fact, though Bhagavad Gita was in the house and my mother used to read it, my grandfather used to read it, but that's devotion. Even I don't say I'm deeply into it, but yes, whatever the nectarful things have gone inside now and the taste of it, it's all glories to Srila Prabhupada. It's because of him. And the one yatra, one dham visit to Vrindavan actually changed everything in my life. It's no fame. So thank you so much. I can really relate to it, what you're saying. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, like, I mean, I mean, this is, at least I always feel that, unless if it was not for Srila Prabhupada, I don't know what I would be doing now, Yeah, thank you,
Absolutely.
Mataji, for sharing your
Absolutely, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, and thank you for logging in from India. Yeah, so we'll move on to the next slide. So today's verse is, like the verse number 5, and we'll recite this verse and read the translation. Tadejati tannejati taddure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bahyatah. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. See how many contradicting qualities are listed, right, of the Lord here. It is not easy to understand. It says that the Supreme Lord walks and he does not walk. And he's far, but he's again near. And he's within everything, and yet he's outside of everything. Does this remind you of some other shloka which we recite very frequently? Anybody? We recite it at the end of every class almost.
That is Vancha Kalpa we recite of every class.
Yeah, before that. Ito nrsimho parato nrsimho.
Okay.
I was just going to tell Mataji you told.
Oh, I'm sorry, Prabhu. Maybe you should
Yeah.
sing it. Yeah. Yeah, we sing that, right? Bahir nrsimho, hridaye nrsimho. So all this, almost the same, right? The meaning is the same, right? Ito nrsimho parato nrsimho.
But that is sloka. It is prayers, na Mataji. It is also a sloka.
Yeah, it is a bhajan. Bhajan, yeah.
Yeah, prayer, shloka. You could say, it is, yeah.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah, it kind of, the theme is the same, right? We
Yes.
recite it every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get to. Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji and Vinita. Yeah. So there are several verses, from the scriptures which actually define these inconceivable potencies of the Lord. And I was listening to some few classes by some eminent speakers and was really attracted to these verses which they were quoting. And I thought it'll be nice if we can also share and listen to these divine, verses. So the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it actually quotes this verse, Apani Pado Javano Grahita, Pashyatya Chakshu Sashrunoti Akarnaha, Saveti Vedyam Nachatasya Veta, Tamahuragrayam Purusham Puranam. So what this says is Apani Pado Javano Grahita. So Apani Pado, the Supreme Lord, he has no legs, Apani Pado, no limbs, but he is Javano Grahita, but he can run faster than anybody. And similarly, I have put the plate of prasadam on the side. How does the Supreme Lord accept our offerings? Anybody? Does he really come and eat? Of course, in special circumstances. Yes, we have heard those pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the Lord comes really and, takes the prasadam, the bhoga we offer to him. But otherwise, how does he show his mercy?
By his lotus eyes, Mataji.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, Pashyat Achakshuhu. So, he doesn't have to necessarily see with his eyes, every, the Lord is absolute in every sense. So each organ of the Lord can function as the other. So he can, he can take the bhoga with his eyes, right? That's what we have seen, right? We have learned that he can take the our bhoga offering with his eyes, and still the bhoga plate will be full, you know. He doesn't take anything for himself. He gives us back his mercy like that. So there, so this verse also kind of, you know, emphasizes the same thing, you know. Though the Lord has apani pado javano, he can still run. And pashyati achakshuhu sashrunoti akarnaha. So without ears, still he can hear. So are we saying that the Lord doesn't have limbs, or, you know, or he doesn't have the eyes, or he doesn't have ears? Is it what this verse means here? No, right? So all it means is that the Lord is absolute in every sense, and he doesn't have material kind of organs like how we are having, right? But he's all spiritual in nature. He's paratattva. He doesn't have even one tinge of material, you know, nature in him, and all his whole form is Sachidananda. It's absolute in every sense, and it is full of knowledge, eternity, and bliss, and it has no tinge of material nature in it, and it's all spiritual. So that's what this verse is actually trying to explain. And then there is another verse also from Sri Bhagavad Gita, which goes like this: Sarvata pani padam tat sarvato kshishiro mukham sarvata shrutimal loke sarvamavritya tishthat. So sarvata pani padam tat. Earlier we learned apani pado javno grahita pashyat achakshuhu sashrunoti akarnaha. So, you know, it was talking about what is not there. Now we are hearing the next verse, which says sarvata pani padam tat. What does that mean? Everywhere he has his hands and all the limbs of the Lord. Tat sarvatokshi kshiro mukham. Sarvato kshi means what? Meenakshi. Kshi means what? Akshi means what? Eyes, right? Yeah. So he has eyes everywhere, and shiro mukham, you know, everywhere. He has so many thousands of faces. Sarvata shrutimal loke. Everywhere are his ears, you know. So this verse is again, you know, describing the Lord, that he has so many. And then the verse which we saw for today, it says that he's located in one place and he does not move, you know. So many kind of inconceivable potencies, right? We are seeing in so many verses are there, which give, you know, a reference to this kind of inconceivable potencies of the Lord. And then the famous you know, Purusha Suktam prayers also. What does it say? Sahasra Shisha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva Atyatishtat Dashangulam. With our 10 fingers, it's impossible to actually count the glories of the Lord. That's what it's saying, you know, the potencies of the Lord. Sahasra Shisha Purushaha. So he has Sahasra Shirasha, means so many heads. Sahasra Shisha, Sahasraksha. Aksha means the eyes, like how this says. Sarvatokshi Shiromukham. Same. So similarly, there are so many shlokas, right, which define these inconceivable potencies of the Lord, right? So many beautiful verses from our scriptures which show that. And because of this very same reason, what happens is people, when they read such inconceivable potencies of the Lord, and when they're not surrendered and do not take to the process of devotional service, like we learned in the other verse, in chapter 4, we saw that when we don't take to this practice of devotional service, what do we think this all as? People start calling it as mythology, right? That's what people say. When the Westerners came to India, it was very difficult for them to understand that, oh, I mean, this sounds really mythical. I mean, how is this person able to do such a thing? I mean, it's beyond, you know, kind of our conception that somebody could do such a thing, you know, like that. So they kind of termed it as mythology or something very, something like a fantasy, a fairy tale or magic tale or something like that, right? So when we try to understand with our limited senses the supreme glories of the Lord, the potencies of the Lord, we fail miserably, right? So unless the Lord reveals to us, unless, you know, he gives us his kind mercy, that we start accepting him for who he is, it's very difficult, right? We cannot understand by our own knowledge. And in trying to imagine Sahasrashirsha Purushaha. Are we even able to imagine that? No, right? It's not easy. So we need, the Lord only can actually reveal his glories or his potencies to us. There are many more examples, and some other things I just wanted to share. Yeah. Let me go with the picture here. The Lord's senses are not only interchangeable, but also unlimited. Like we were saying, like for example, when we are trying to look ahead, like in front of us, do we have a vision of what is behind us? We just cannot see what is behind us, right? But the Lord, he can see everything around him. It's not impossible for him. And again, like we saw in the previous slide, how he can taste the bhoga with just his eyes, because all of his organs are, absolute in nature. The Lord is absolute in nature. So the senses are not only interchangeable, but also unlimited. We saw Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapad. So thousands, thousands. He has unlimited Ananta. Ananta says, right, even unlimited mouths, I cannot glorify the Lord, right? So it is like so unlimited. It's not only that the senses are interchangeable, but they're also kind of unlimited. There's a very famous song also, which is Anoraniyana Mahato Mahiyana. Anoraniyana. He is smaller than the smallest. Mahato Mahiyana. He is greater than the greatest, right? That's how the devotees, Purandaradasa, he composed this kriti, and he describes the Lord as he is smaller than the smallest and greater than the greatest. Then we also see this verse, which is on the slide, which is from the Brahma Samhita prayers. Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam adyam purana purusham nava yauvanam cha vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktau govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. So it says, see, Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam adyam purana purusham nava yauvanam cha. Aren't these contradicting? It says Adyam Purana Purusham. He is the oldest, he is the original being. But then it says next 2 words, Nava Yauvanamcha. But he's still new, he's still fresh. He's still, like the 16 and a half always, like how our scriptures describe him. So many different ways of how to see the inconceivable potencies of the Lord, right? I mean, if we think of the oldest person in history, we tend to imagine like, okay, that person will be like full of gray hair and, like a white beard or something like that, right? But no, the Lord is the oldest. He's the Adyam Purana Purusham, but still Navayavanam cha. So many nice, like contradicting qualities, but yes, it is possible in the Lord. So there is a nice pastime I would like to share in this regard. The picture we see, who are we seeing in the picture actually? Anybody? Can you see the picture here on the right?
This is a demon, Mataji.
Yeah, what is his name?
Trinavarta.
Yeah, yes, Trinavarta, very nice. So what was this Trinavarta doing, so one day Lord Krishna was lying on his mother's lap, and he wanted to take a nice aerial view of Vrindavan, and he knew that this Trinavarta demon is approaching there. So what he did was, he made himself very, very heavy, So, like the Lord is full of all potencies, so he can be the lightest, he can be the heaviest. So all these Animala, Gimya, all these kind of yoga siddhis we see, he is the Yogeshwara, right? He is the Yogeshwara. So he has all these potencies, all these contradictory, everything you can see in him. So he made himself very heavy. So Mother Yashoda, she had to like put him down from her lap, and she went in. And then he took this opportunity, and immediately he made himself very light. So when this Trinavarta came, to take him away, he made himself very light and went all up high in the air, and then was able to see Vrindavan fully. And then, again, he said, okay, my mom will be worried, I need to go back now. So again, he started making himself very heavy, and punched Trinavarta and killed him. And then he came down again to his mother's lap. When she came back, he he was lying there. So the Lord can do all these kind of things, it's not any big feat for him. He can make himself heavy, he can make himself light, just to enjoy some pastimes. So he has all these contradicting potencies, and we do see all of those potencies, and there are more examples we can see in this regard too. We have a picture of Lord Narsimhadev here, and we see Prahlad Maharaj. He's standing next to Narsimhadev. And how is Lord Narsimhadev looking at Prahlad Maharaj? He's actually blessing him with his lotus hand, right? Tavakara Kamalavare. So kara means hand, Tavakara Kamalavare. So it is as soft as a lotus, right? Then next line, what does it say? Tavakara Kamalavare.
Nakham Adbhuta Singham.
Yeah, Nakham Adbhuta Shringam, right? So next, what does it say? His nails are like, Adbhuta, very, very, what do I say? What is the word? Wondrous, right? His nails are very, how does he use his nails? Tavakara Kamalavare, the hands are soft like lotus, and then his nails are sharp, right? Nakham Adbhuta Shringam, and what does he do with his nails? He uses these nails to actually kill Hiranyakashipu, but then he uses his same lotus hands to actually softly caress Prahlad Maharaj, right? So we see how this contradicting kind of qualities, Tavakara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam. So how the same hands, which are soft, and they're soft for the devotee, but then the same hands which have the nails, these nails are like daggers, which tear open the intestines of Hiranyakashipu. So the same Lord, same hands, everything same, but then the treatment is different, right? We see that though they are contradictory in nature, but it is the same Lord Narsimhadev, who is exhibiting these pastimes. It's also described that the Supreme Personality of Godhead's eyes, it says Sashi Surya Netra. So his eyes are the sun and the moon. So how is the sun? It is like hot and fiery, right? It's very hot and fiery. And then the moon is kind of cooling, right? What is that? Nitai Pada Kamala, Koti Chandra Sushitala. The moon is generally soothing in nature, calming, quiet, like that. And the sun is like hot and fiery, right? So the sun and moon are the eyes of the Supreme Lord. It is said in the 11th chapter, if I'm not wrong, of Bhagavad Gita, right? Where it describes his glories, like, it says Shashi Surya Netra. And so the sun is hot and fiery. So the Lord at the same time, he can be like, very tough to somebody like a demon, like Hiranyakashipu. He can be very tough, but on the same time, he can be like very soft and soothing like the moon to his devotee, right? Like Prahlad Maharaj, who's standing next to. How beautifully he took him in his lap and licked him, actually. That's so sweet. So like how a lion would actually lick the lion club. So the Lord exhibits all these potencies, though these are, kind of contradictory, but we have seen these kind of pastimes in the Lord, right? So these atheists, they find it very, very difficult to understand. How can it be possible, So this is some made up story, or the Lord is just doing this in some material form, like that. They take, like the Mayavadis, they think that, he's just taken this form for this pastime. It is not any, spiritual form, but even this form, whatever form the Lord takes when he manifests on this planet Earth, his form is always, it's always transcendental. It's never has a tinge of material nature in it. There's this famous verse also in Bhagavad Gita which establishes, this fact. I think it's 7:11, right? The verse, yeah. And where it, he says, "Mudhoyam na bijanati." And the foolish people do not know that my form is, spiritual in nature. And he's also, he can manifest anywhere, right? The Lord, it's not like, he has to manifest in a certain way, in, how humans like us, we take birth in a certain way, and, in a certain, we all take birth in our mother's wombs, like that. But the Lord can actually manifest anywhere, right? So where did Lord Narasimha appear from?
Pillar.
Yeah, he appeared from the pillar. And was he like a tiny baby cub and who slowly grew up to become the big lion?
No.
Yeah, he just appeared like that, right? The Lord. He can appear. Even when he appeared in Devaki's womb, what form did he come out? Like, I mean, what form did he appear first?
Half man and half lion.
Oh, in Devaki's womb in the prison.
Oh, poor.
400 for.
Yeah, he was in his 400 form, right? And then they were like, oh no, show us your 200 form. And then he became the small baby 200 form, Krishna, right? Like that. So the Lord doesn't have to do all this, our kind of material birth, the baby crying and then growing slowly, trying to walk and going to school and all these things. No, those things don't happen with the Lord. There's also this another pastime of, do you see this picture to the far right? What pastime is this picture talking about?
Bhor Avatara.
Yeah, what is the Bhor Avatara?
Varaha.
Yeah, Varaha Avatara. So, you know, generally in the material world, when you see a boar or a pig, what would you do? You try to move away, right? You don't want to go near a boar or a pig, right? I mean, generally, we don't consider the you know, boar or a pig to be very clean, or, you know, we tend to go away. And especially when Varaha Deva, he lifted Bhumi from the ocean and he shook his body like that. What happens when, you know, he shook his body like that? What happened, do you think?
Water.
Yeah, the
mist.
water was, yeah, he was sprinkling water everywhere around them. And what is the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam? What does it say as an answer to this? So when Lord Varaha, he shook his body, all these people in this Jana Maharloka, all these people, they got purified, you know,
Very
by
good.
his sprinkling of the water. So can you imagine in the material world, if the pig goes into a ditch and comes out, what would you do? You know, you just run away and take a shower, right?
We will
But then-
purify ourselves.
Yeah.
But here it's completely opposite. Yeah.
Opposite, yeah. So here what happens, the you know, the upper planetary systems, these people are like, you know, generally the Lord is also described as animesha, like he never blinks. And even these demigods, I was listening in a lecture recently, they are also animesha, they do not blink per se. So above this Svarga, you know, so many sense enjoyers, like who are after money, wealth, fame, you know, material happiness and things like that, they reach up to this Svarga Loka. But then this Mahartapa Jana Loka, these are like great devotees, and the life there is very, very austere. I mean, in Svarga Loka, you know, there's all kind of facilities for enjoyment, right? Like there's so much of wine, woman, wealth, everything, whatever you want to find is there, the Svarga Loka. But above these planets, the Jana, Mahar, and Tap, and these lokas, these three planets above, they actually are very austere. And it is said that the devotees who still have some tinge of, you know, materialism or some jnana, some, you know, kind of those karma tendencies, they actually go to these planets, you know, the Jana Mahar planets, and then they purify themselves because it's very austere, and then they, you know, go back to Godhead like that. So these people in these planets are very, very, very great devotees actually. So, and they have the small tinges, you know. Even we have read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I think in the 12th canto or so, that in the Kali, in the Satya Yuga, actually, the people always, they were engaged in meditation, right? And even the children that were kind of born, to some people, was with the mind. It was not like, you know, they had some you know, relationships like how we have now in Kali Yuga. No, in Satya Yuga, they were always in meditation. You know, they had some small tendency left of something, some material tendency, which they were trying to get over with and go back to Godhead. So Satya Yuga, those people are very saintly. and they were engaged in meditation all the time, and they used to eat raw like fruits, roots, and maybe fast too, like that. So we read about all these, right? So similarly, these upper planets, so those exalted devotees, they were actually so happy. They said that they got purified by the sprinkling of the water of Lord Varaha. So this is totally inconceivable, right? Try telling this to somebody that the pig, went under the water and came and splashed the water and we got purified. It's kind of difficult for non-believers or atheists to understand this whole thing, right? And then if we see the picture below, this is talking about the another, inconceivable potency of the Lord. Here, what is Krishna doing?
Lifting
He's
over.
actually, he's carrying the Giri Govardhan on where? On his left pinky. That's all it takes for him to carry the Giri Govardhan. For how many days and nights?
7 days, 7 nights.
Yeah, 7 days and 7 nights he carried Giri Govardhan. But then there's also, pastimes of Lord Krishna, where he tried to, carry Nanda Baba's, slippers on his head. But then when his mother used to tell him, bring some pot of butter or something, he used to pretend like, oh, this is so heavy, I cannot carry it, like that, right? So the Lord exhibits all these kind of sweet pastimes and sweet potencies in his own sweet way to enhance, the pastimes with his devotees, the rasa with his devotees. So many such examples are there of the Lord, where he exhibits this, kind of contradictory potencies. We will see a little bit more. Okay, coming back to the verse, Isopanishad declares the Lord is far away, but also very near. So we are seeing in this picture, Draupadi, she was being disrobed, right? Draupadi Vastraharana. So the Lord she was in Hastinapura actually. And where was the Lord? He was in Dwaraka at that time. But how did he rescue her? Immediately, right? He came, as soon as she raised both her hands, what did he do? He came and, like we can see in the picture, he's providing her meters and meters and meters of cloth, right, to protect her, to protect his devotee. So he can be situated in Dwarka, and and his devotee may be situated there, but still within a fraction of a second, he can manifest himself anywhere, right? Also, we saw in the rasa dance too, right? The Lord takes so many forms, also in the pastimes with his Dwarka queens, right? He has so many 16,000 wives, and in each wife's chamber, there was Krishna. So, in his whole form, in his full potency, he was there. So the Lord can do such things, like it's not, it's kind of inconceivable in, if we try to imagine, how did he appear like that? Even in Gajendra pastime, right? Gajendra was caught, by the crocodile. The crocodile actually grabbed his leg, and he was crying out for the Lord. So the Lord was in Vaikuntha, and immediately, Hari, 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 he cried for the Lord, and the Lord immediately manifested and saved him. He came with the Sudarshan Chakra. Like that, the Lord can, he can be so far, but yet he can be near. For his devotees, he can come closer. So the question is, how can we know him when he is so far? So we can only know him, like it says, he's sukshma. Sukshma is very subtle, he has no anything gross about him. And like what I mean by gross is like gross material. There's nothing, no tinge of materialism in him. He's sukshma and allows to be perceived only by devotion, right? So there's this, who knows the Chatushloki in Bhagavad Gita? I'm sure Vrinda knows.
Arjuna Vacha.
Arjuna Vacha. Param Brahma Param Dhamma.
That's
Okay. That's not the right one.
Yeah, 10:8 through 10:12. I mean 10:11. Aham sarvasya prabhavo.
Aham sarvasya prabhavo bhatta sarvam pravartate iti bhatta vajanteva buddha bhavasavadita.
Yeah, next one.
तेषां सततं युक्तानां भजतां शीतिपूर्वकं तदापि बुद्धियोगात् तेन मामुपयामि ते.
Yeah, pause there. Pause there. Okay, what was this verse? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. So what do we do? Tesham satata yuktanam. Yukta is to be in yoga or in connection with the Lord. Satata means always, eternal. Yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Bhajatam is devotional service, priti purv, with love and devotion. Then go on, Brinda. Tesham satata yuktanam.
तेषामेवानुकं पाठम् अहमव्यारजं धर्मानाशयम् आत्मभावस्थो ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता.
Yeah, aham ajnanajam tamaha. Aham ajnanajam tamaha means like ajnana. We are full of ignorance. And what does the Lord do? Nashayami atma bhavastu. Nashayami, he quells this ignorance. And atma bhavastu. Atma, where does he actually reveal himself? Atma. Atma here, Srila Prabhupada translates this as the heart. So the Lord reveals, to the devotees in the previous verse, like Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadhami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. So he gives that, this knowledge to us to understand the Lord. And then how does he do that? By nashayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. So by destroying this nescience or, ignorance in us, and in our heart, he reveals us, he reveals himself in the heart. There's also this another very famous verse, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which actually, I actually got so many verses as references. Sorry if I'm going a little overboard on the verses, but I thought this is a good time to meditate, on all this. Okay, I think I did not save that one, but this verse is that one which says Maruta. I'm kind of, yeah, okay. Well, the verse actually says that the Pashyanti yam yoginaha, like he actually reveals himself. The Lord actually reveals himself to his devotees in the heart, what is that verse? Varuna, Maruta, it goes like that. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that one. It's a very, very famous verse, which also actually says that, to his devotees, he actually reveals himself in the heart. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. The next slide, sorry. So, we are moving on to the other concept, where the Lord mercifully appears in the Arsha Murti form. Arsha Murti form is basically the deity form, which we see in our temples, right? So Srila Prabhupada, by his divine costless mercy, he opened 108 temples around the world, and we are able to take darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so I took this picture, and anybody from where do you think this picture is?
Mayapur Mataji.
Yeah, this is Mayapur, yeah. So we see the beautiful form of the Lord in his Archa Vigraha form. So usually, it's described even in other Vedic literatures, and even Sri Vaishnavas, they quote, that the Lord actually appears in 5 different forms, like one is Para, then Vyuha, Vibhava, and then Antaryami and Archa. So in this purport, actually, Srila Prabhupada, he actually is trying to give us an idea of this Antaryami, the super soul form of the Lord. He actually hints on these 2 forms, the Arsha Murti and the super soul form of the Lord, the Antaryami form of the Lord. So this Arsha Murti is, with so many different examples, Srila Prabhupada describes it, in so many places in our scriptures. Like he likens the Arsha Murti to a mailbox, right? This is a very commonly heard analogy, which we, tend to relate to this deity form of the Lord. So how this a mailbox, when we drop, I don't know how it works here, but in India, you drop the mail in the mailbox and then it goes, or it reaches the right person, right? Because these mailboxes are authorized, if you dropped your mail in any other box, which was painted red, it would not go. to the person, right? This is an authorized box, mailbox, which is actually set up by the government. And so when you drop your mail there, you can rest assured that it reaches the right person, right? The mailman comes and picks it up at 2 or 3 different timings in the day, and then he delivers the mail to the actual person. So we can, be sure that this happens. So similarly, the Lord also, by his costless mercy, he manifests himself in this, Arshamurti form on, so that we can offer him services, and we can develop a personal relationship with him. So depending on how, ye yatha mam prapadyante, so how we approach the Lord, he accordingly gives us the devotion to serve him. So for example, if we think that this deity is just made of stone or metal, or something else, then the Lord will actually show himself as that. He'll say, okay, I'll remain a stone, a metal, or whatever you think. But on the other hand, if we approach the Lord and, in recognizing his inconceivable potency and his, the potency to manifest in this kind of a form just for our, purification, the Lord will reciprocate with us also in the same way. So, when once Srila Prabhupada, one of the persons who was listening to Srila Prabhupada's lecture, he was like, Lord Krishna, you always tell that he's trying to enjoy, and he's, like a little boy who's actually dancing around and playing the flute and things like that, So your Lord appears very soft in nature, and very playful, and he's not like scary, or it doesn't seem very powerful or something. So then Srila Prabhupada actually told his disciples, the devotees, that okay, you show this man the Kala Rupa, of the Lord, where where the Lord is in the Vishwarupa we were seeing, right? Like how the Lord was actually, the beings were entering into the mouth of the Lord, right? Like that, it was a little scary. So he was like, show that form to him. He will know that Krishna also has this side, right? So Krishna can take that side, like how we earlier saw the pastime of Narsimha Dev also, right? Where to Prahlad, he had lotus hands, while to Hiranyakashipu, his nails were like daggers, piercing through his intestines. So many such, like pastimes are there where people question, like how, a lot of people have this, don't believe in the Arshamurti form of the Lord, and they tend to call it idol worship, like that, because they don't understand this concept of, how the Lord can manifest himself anywhere, and just to, just to exchange his love with his devotees. And so it totally depends on our level of consciousness, how we also look at this Arshamurti of the Lord. So if we look at the Lord, and if we understand his presence there, the Lord will also reciprocate to us. There are pastimes, I have heard of devotees, like some of our congregation devotees, who actually the Lord comes and drinks all the water every day. Their cups, which they put for the deities in the morning, by evening they're all empty, the water is all gone. So the Lord does reciprocate, in his own sweet ways. And even one of my friends, she was saying, she offers bhoga to the Lord, and she was like, she has the Damodar, the Damodar is tied to that mortar, that ukhal is tied to that. So she was like, how do I know you're even eating my prasadam like that? She was, like thinking maybe he doesn't like what I cook or something. And then she went to work and came back that day evening. There was a break in that ukhal and Krishna, like, I mean, she was like, how did this happen? And she got that message, that the Lord had actually come. He broke free from the ukhal and came to actually eat the bhoga. So, these kind of sweet relationships with the Lord we do hear, right? How many pastimes, the Transcendental Brothers, Jan Nivas Prabhu, Pankajagiri Prabhu, they all experienced. It's all there. But for non-believers, they may say, he's making up stories, or he's just coming up with something, like that. But for believers, yes, the Lord does manifest himself. So it is according, ye yatha mam prapadyante. So according to how you believe and how we offer devotional service to him, the Lord will actually reveal himself to us. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, the last, I think this is perhaps the last, okay, we're almost time. Okay, good time. So the last paragraph or two of the purport discusses that, the laws, potencies are achintya bheda bheda, right? Achintya means inconceivable, which we cannot understand. Bheda abheda. Bheda abheda is this oneness and variety. And what is the example given for this oneness and variety? Anybody? Very common examples are there, right? Of the sun. I think one Mataji was describing in last class or so in the, and then there's also, like I was describing earlier, the Virata Rupa and the Antaryami. The Virata Rupa is the universal form, of the Lord, which is like huge, right? Which Arjuna got darshan of. And Antaryami is the super soul form. And how did the Lord appear, when Parikshit Maharaj was in Uttara's womb and he was being attacked by the Brahmastra? So what size did the Lord take to protect Parikshit?
Thumb size, ma'am.
Yeah, Angushtamalya, right? So he appeared as a thumb size, right? So the Lord, the super soul in the heart, he can appear in that size, and also he can uptake this Virat Rupa, this huge manifest form also he can take. All energies come from him, but yet he is aloof. So we also saw this in the last chapter. It discussed all the energies, right? 3 different energies of the Lord: Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tathastha Shakti. We all belong to the Jiva Tattva belongs to the Tathastha. So we can go here or there. We can be in material or we can be in a spiritual realm, right? So it depends on our consciousness. So the analogy of fire and cow is given in the last purport, last paragraph of the purport to this. To this verse, the fire is one. It also emits heat and light. So heat and light are all part of this, of the same fire. There's also so many other, analogies are given, like the ocean water and a drop of the ocean water. So the drop of the ocean water, it has the same it has the same qualities like the same, the whole ocean water in itself. But then the ocean itself is so huge, right? And the drop of water is nothing in front of it. So like that, then last time also we saw another example, I think Radhika Mataji gave, or who gave, was regarding the mountain of gold and then a small piece of gold. So both are gold and have the same qualities, same properties. But then a mountain of gold, is huge in nature. And then she was explaining that the speck of gold can be covered by dust, right? Like how human beings, like how the Jiva Tattva is. The mountain of gold is huge, and like the Lord, is infinite and huge like that in front of that speck of gold. And so many different, I have also given this example of cow here. Like it's not easy to understand the inconceivable potencies of the Lord, but then also we see examples around us, right? For example, we eat food like fruits, vegetables, but what happens in our body, we don't even know what kind of an reaction is happening in the body, that it converts into blood, right? We see that happen. So in some sense, this verse says that we are small controllers in some sense, and we can control some aspects, of what's going on around us. For example, we too have these kind of inconceivable potencies within us, right? Where we eat something, but then it is converted into blood and it comes. Do we know how it happens? We don't know, but yes, it is happening day in and day out. It's happening. So many processes in our bodies are going on, right? Without our knowledge, the heart is beating, the brain is functioning. I mean, we don't even know, but we see all these kind of things happening, which are wondrous in some sense. Similarly, even the cow, it feeds on grass, but then it gives out pure milk. How is it happening? can scientists produce, some machine or some equipment that you feed grass into it and milk comes out of it? Do you think that's ever going to happen? I doubt it. So we see all these kind of inconceivable potencies around us too, right? And tejo vari mridam yaha vinimayo, we've learned in that verse too, right? There are so many illusory potencies, tejo vari mridam. So we see the mirage in the desert. So it's so hot. And what do we see? We see water, right? The mirage in the desert. And then what do we see? We see an island in whole of water. Does the island get submerged in the water? No, right? It is staying right out there. So these are kind of, how can such a heavy mass of land not submerge inside the water? Isn't that kind of inconceivable, which we see around us? So we do see such inconceivable potencies around us. So then what to speak of the Supreme Lord? It shouldn't be too surprising that he has so many inconceivable potencies, right? So on this note, let's move on to the summary slide. And yeah. So basically, this is what we discussed in today's class, the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. And what does he do? Like walk, does not, that dejati, tad nahi jati, tad duri, tad vandake, the verse. And then the foolish, the atheist, they think the Lord descends in material form, BG 911, and all the other things which we discussed. I don't want to go into much detail because we just discussed all this. And we saw the example of, how much we surrender to the Lord will reveal to us. And we saw the example of Prahlad Maharaj. We saw so many examples today. And I didn't discuss the Saguna and Nirguna. This was something I think I left out on my slide. So basically what Srila Prabhupada describes is the Lord is both Saguna and Nirguna, but when he is Saguna, it doesn't mean that he has material guna or material modes, but he is actually totally transcendental. And by Nirguna, it means that he is not having any material tendencies. Elsewhere in the scriptures, also there is reference where Srila Prabhupada says that the Jiva Tattva is actually Saguna, but the Lord is always Nirguna. He's never covered. So in that context, he says that he's never covered by, these material tendencies. But in this context, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that the Lord is both Saguna and Nirguna, because Saguna he has all the qualities in him, all the qualities, his Raso Vaisaha. So everything we see in ourselves are actually coming from him. He's the origin, right? Isha Vashamidam Sarvam. So he's the origin, but his qualities are totally transcendental in nature, and we have material qualities. So he can accept our services through deity form, and we have a limited power of understanding. And we discussed the Antaryami form, and then the manifestation of his energies, heat and light, like how the heat and light are separate energies of the Lord. But then unless there is fire, you cannot have heat and light, right? Have you seen heat and light without any kind of fire? No, right? So there has to be some kind of fire for the heat and light to be generated. And he can be present anywhere, like Narsimadev, Vinita Mataji answered. He came from the pillar, and spiritual world is beyond material sky. Okay, he is Paratattva and inconceivable potency. So we went through all this summary of the class, and I think it's a good time to pause here and take any questions or any realization, any corrections. I'm sorry if I quoted something wrong, because I thought I was a little ill prepared for this class. So please feel free to correct me. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Sukha Sagari Mataji. What a fabulous class. I love the practical examples you gave, how you connected the verses and the stories and the examples. Almost everything that you spoke was so well done, Mataji. Thank you so much. It gave me so much more insight on this verse. So very, very grateful to you. Such a fabulous presentation, Mataji. Very practical examples and also very nicely connected. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Preeti, for your kind words. I actually took all these from other speakers and just put it all together. I'm just parroting what others have spoken. So all glories to them who have presented these classes to us.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. My name is Prahlad Anandas, and I was just wondering whether you were missing that slok Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra.
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Okay, I just remembered that. I thought I would just.
Oh, thank you so much, Prabhuji. And were you in the morning class also quoting all the shlokas?
Yes, I was there in the morning, and unfortunately, I couldn't join earlier. But whatever time I got, I said, let me get into it. Just now.
Very nice, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, that is the verse, Prabhu, I was referring to.
Yeah, just I was
Brahma
wondering whether you
Varunendra Marutaha. Yes, that's the verse, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like Maruta. I know Brahma Varuna, but I was not getting Brahma. So
Right. Yeah, that happens. Whenever you are preaching, some initial word is missing, then you cannot get slow.
yeah, sometimes I only remember the half part of the
Yeah.
verse. I don't remember the starting line. It kind of.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Sukha Sagari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. What a beautiful class, Mataji. As Priti Mataji said, the class was very simple to understand, even though verse is so controversial words, because it's like saying once it is Lord cannot move, and then Lord can also move, and even it's so hard to understand this inconceivable energy of the Lord. But with your examples and the slokas, it made very easy to understand how is it possible that Trinavarta pastime, Govardhan pastime, whatnot, all the pastimes, like how appears Narshingadev. Everything you covered it very nicely, Mataji. Thank you so much for putting it very simple. We know Isopanishad is very technical, but you made it very easy, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful, beautiful class. Really loved the class, Mataji. Class is very simple.
Oh, thank you, Vinita. It's like I said, I just took it off some speakers classes, like I listened to 2-3 and just put them together. So all glories to all the great speakers, all the, great devotees who have put, like even the slide is taken from Radhesham Prabhuji's class. I took some from Urmila Mataji's class. So everything is borrowed. That's what I was thinking. One advantage with like Srila Prabhupada says, right? You just have to be a parrot, in Krishna consciousness. So though we may never have done, kind of cheating or whatever you call it, in school, we are encouraged not to do, right? It's termed as plagiarism, but in Krishna consciousness, we have full freedom to be a parrot and just repeat as it is. So we are given full credit for that. So that's another kind of contradictory thing, right? Between the material and spiritual knowledge. Like here we are asked to repeat just as it is, but material knowledge, we are termed cheaters or engaging plagiarism if we try to do that, right? But here we are free to do that. So I was just thinking that today, because I took all my material from some speakers I listened to. So
thank you,
Mataji.
And also that is the main theme of all our parampara, because we have to copy paste. We can't edit anything.
Yeah.
We don't have authority to edit any information. That's why Srila Prabhupada gave as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is, no any editing, and his own words in there.
Hare Krishna Mataji, but that is also big challenging, right, Mataji? It's not that easy, copy and paste and compiling and all that. That's another challenge, and make it understandable to the others. That's a great art, Mataji. It's not that simple what you are saying.
So true, Prabhuji, so true. And when you hear many lectures, you'll get even more confused what to put, what not to put. Taking the needed one, which is easy, that is also very talent. Yes, we need a lot of intelligence to take what we have to take for the class and what we have to leave it. And it is very hard to, join all the 3 lectures information into one lecture or 4 lectures information. It's very, very hard. Yes, Prabhuji, I agree.
Yeah, because you have to maintain that flow and all that,
Yeah, when we are taking, yes, the flow also should not get disturbed. Yes, Prabhuji, I agree.
Can I put a little input there? Copy pasting is easy on iPad, on iPhone, everywhere, but not in the brain. Okay. putting it in the brain, copy pasting, and then organizing in the cerebrum. And that's a good task. But I think Super Soul helps all of us who preach. Super Soul always helps us to, make the thought process so smooth that, it can express Prabhupada Maharaj's blessing and mercy on us. That's what I think. Haribol.
Yeah.
And Prabhuji, you are very quick in posting the sloka in the chat box whenever someone is referring to some translation. You just quickly find this sloka. I don't know how.
I have been using Vedabase for so many years. I'm in Las Vegas, and for last 20 years or so, I've been preaching here, to a small group on Zoom and also in the temple. So, this has been my practice. And since I retired from 5, 6 years, this is my main business now. So that's the reason I could pull it up a little faster like that.
Very cool.
Prabhuji, there is a temple, right, in Las Vegas? I mean,
yeah, recently we started, but when I moved here,
so it's you and your wife who started it, Prabhu?
No, not me.
Oh.
I have a friend here. His name is Bhagavad Priyadas, and he was our congregational, member from a long time. I started this one in 1999. That's where I bought a house here in Las Vegas, and then we were doing it at somebody's house and different places, doing it every Sunday like that. And then when this temple was built about 15, 16 years back, that's where they invited us that, you can also do that. And then we had a plan that we would open a center later on like that. So for last 1 or 2 years now, we have the temple here. But I still continue doing at Sanatan Mandir because Radha Govind Swami, whom I, have been in Sadhu Sangh like that. So he told me long back that it's good to do it at Sanatan Temple because other people come, you can distribute books, and they can get introduced to the Krishna consciousness, Vaishnavism like that. So that way, I have continued doing that at that temple as a additional service of preaching and book distribution. So that's what we do.
Living in Sin City, you're doing, anti-sin. I mean, that itself is another inconceivable kind of thing, right?
I was in Africa before I moved to US. That was in 95. And before that, I was in touch with Radha Govind Swami in Nairobi Temple. And I was in Nairobi for about 18, 20 years there, practicing as a physician there. And then when I moved here, in 97, I moved here from New Jersey. I stayed there for 2 years. And that's where I had a lot of satsang also at Tobacco Temple in New Jersey. And then I had to move because of my job to Las Vegas. And when I came here, I found nobody, no temple, nothing like that. There was some temple for Sai Baba and all that. So I started congregating some. I told my friends and others that, I'm preaching Bhagavad Gita to my sons. And so you send your youngsters, we can preach them. So that's how we started that. And now it's growing like that.
Were you, was it an article about you and your wife in Dandavats, or, I know one devotee couple started it in Las Vegas, but I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's his name is Bharat Patel. He's a pharmacist, and he's initiated as a Bhagavad Priyadas. He's a good friend of ours. Yeah. So it's very good,
nice,
Yeah. So
thank you so much for your.
Yeah, COVID has proved a blessing for us because otherwise how could I contact so many erudite scholars all over the world? I really enjoy doing this, and get so much input. Where do I have time to read all this big Prabhupada's literature? I have read on most of it, but then to be in touch with great devotees, it's a great blessing. So that's how I connect with that. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your kind association. Yeah, I was just thinking it's thanks to Bhakti Sangha's training, that we are at least able to look for material and put together and present something. I totally believe, it's the organizers who allow me to speak their potency, like Preeti. I always feel when she asks me to present something, she gives me the potency like that. So I'm indebted to all the organizers, like even Vinita Mataji, who is like the backbone of the whole class. She takes care of so many things.
Right.
Any questions,
So-
anybody? Sorry, Prabhu, you were saying something.
No, I was just thanking you to allow me to speak.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam. It was really so amazing class, Mataji. Mataji, you said to share some realizations. So I was
Yes,
tempted to share because I was a bit hesitant, but here you mentioned also far near can be present anywhere, Lord Narasimha Deva. So just to share, and of course we are running out of time, I will first show the darshan of Prahlad Narasimha. Should I show, Mataji?
Yes, please go ahead. I'll
And
stop sharing. Vinita, do you have to give him the share rights?
maybe you can spotlight. I will.
I can do it.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
share it, Prabhuji, whatever you want.
Should I stop sharing then, Vinita?
Yes, Mataji, we can do that.
Can you see the deities, Mataji?
Yes,
Oh.
Prabhu.
So this is Prahlad Narasimha. Just appeared one day before Narasimha Chaturdasi. Why I want to share? Because Lord is so merciful that in our congregation, just we were discussing that there was some debate that should we eat grain prasadam after Sandhya Arati, means after celebrating. Then there was something saying that some devotees said we can eat, some devotees we cannot eat. That was a debate. But I said that okay, I will try to take Ekadashi Prasadam only. And somehow one day before, one devotee called, he said, can you take this Prahlad Narasimha deity to your home because we are going to India. So this thing, Mataji, I never expected that Prahlad Narasimha I can serve, but that devotee told, since we are going and you can do it, you please do it. So Lord is there everywhere and he is so merciful that he has appeared, and I am not qualified to do the seva also. But
who else other than Nitya Narasimha Prabhu? That's why he came to your home.
No, Mataji, it is means it's all devotees' mercy. So what I meant to say, Lord is there everywhere, and it is a question of perception only. And also in my hometown, Mataji, even you can search in YouTube, in a Bidar, place called Bidar in Karnataka, there is a Prahlad Narasimha Jarna. That means half a kilometer you have to go in a tunnel, and there you will get the Lord Narasimha Deva's darshan. The water is coming from Lord's Mouth, Lotus Mouth. So that is Lord Narasimha Deva's place. So it's all my means close to my parents, because they also, my Karmi name is also Narasimha Reddy, because maybe they have prayed to the Lord Narasimha Deva, that's why they put. So, but a firm faith in Lord Narasimha Deva, because you started with Ito Narasimha, Parato Narasimha, and also ended with. So it is a question of belief and faith, and wherever like we have faith and we follow Sadhu, Shastra and Guru, Lord appears there, Mataji. That's what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for sharing this. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anybody else has any questions or comments? Lalitangi Mataji, would you like to share something?
Mataji, she put the chat message that says class is wonderful.
Oh no, I was just wondering. She has a lot of
So
stories and pastimes. So,
Hare
you know,
Krishna,
I just.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Such a beautiful class as Preeti
No,
Mataji.
Mataji, I was only wondering if you had to share some pastimes. I mean, nothing else. Yeah. Because you have.
Practical examples and very nice. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Vinita, if nobody has questions, do you think it's a good time to?
Yes, Mataji, yes. So if there are no more questions, we can close the call. I would like to offer my obeisances to Mataji and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vancha kalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha
Patitara Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Sukha Sagari Mataji ki Jai.
All grace to Shri Guru and Gaurangan Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you to all the organizers, and we'll meet tomorrow again for the Shloka class.
Haribo. Yes, Mataji.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.